Well, let's get to crypto, and 3 more countries are looking to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender in the year ahead. Of course, this after El Salvador made history last September, becoming the first country to make the digital asset an official currency alongside the US dollar. To take us through the outlook, Nigel from deVere Group joining us now live via Skype from Malta. Nigel, great to go and see you again. Hopefully having a pleasant evening there. Yeah, El Salvador, the adoption of Bitcoin created a lot of headlines, but you think it's not the last country to go down that path?
No, there's lots of other countries looking at it, Paraguay in particular, Panama. So yes, I think there's going to be more and more countries look to ditch the dollar and move towards Bitcoin.
The other factors, the benefits that could go and help the populace of these countries, because we know that Bukele there in El Salvador has been pretty vocal. He's been a Bitcoin advocate for a long period of time. What about for the masses? What would it deliver by going to Bitcoin?
Well, ultimately, you've got lots of people that are expatriates and their remittances are heavily charged. You know, if you're Australian and you're sending your money back to Australia, it costs you a fortune. So if you can reduce those costs, then obviously that's a benefit. So these countries, lots of their revenue is based on people remitting money and looking after their families. So if you can reduce those costs, that's good news for everybody.
What about some of the detractors? I'm just looking at some of the other research ahead of this interview. I would notice that 89% decline in Bitcoin usage in El Salvador. It doesn't speak volumes about, I know, the population's willingness to go and adopt it. Is that a bit of a detractor that makes it maybe a little bit less certain as to whether we'll see other countries such as Paraguay and others in Central America perhaps go down that path?
Yeah, I think everything that's new takes time, doesn't it? So people look and they're cautious in the beginning, but I think ultimately, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's another digital currency, then everybody's going to move in this direction. You can see the same thing with China with the digital yuan. Digital currencies are the future. So whether it's Bitcoin or something else, ultimately it's going to be the direction of travel.
We'll come to the central bank digital currencies in a second. The question I'm going to ask as well, when it comes to these countries, we talk about the US dollar's already being accepted as a legal tender in El Salvador and other countries around the world. Why not just stick with that at this point in time? It's the global reserve currency. It's very stable. Why not just go and stay with that?
Well, it's an interesting one, long question. I mean, if we go back to the history of money, you know, at one stage the sterling was the reserve currency of the world, and the Dutch guilder even before that. So every currency that's actually been the reserves lasted about 75 years. US dollar's actually about 75 years. Maybe it's due for a change. So if you think what's happened with the US dollar, what happened last year, they digitally added or printed, if you wish, $7 trillion. So if you're holding a dollar somewhere around the world, your money's been devalued. The 7 trillion that was printed was spent in America. So imagine you don't live in America, you've got a dollar, it's worth less. And that's what's caused inflation. So would you want to rely on the US dollar as a reserve currency, or would you rather have an alternative?
Good question to go and ask. I want to go and ask you about the central bank digital currencies, particularly in China. The ECNY, the digital yuan, is getting a lot of press at the moment. We're seeing during the week the PBOC has gone and launched a digital wallet app to go and allow select users to go and use. So what does that give you a sense as to where the future lies when it comes to that form of legal tender?
I think governments realise that they can save a massive amount of their expenses by having digital currencies. So just imagine how much is spent just by paper money, and if you actually had it digital and you're actually able to use it as a system, it saves roughly 30% of government costs. I mean, that's massive. So you can imagine China doing that, UAE are certainly looking at it. Again, more and more countries do that, then perhaps that makes Bitcoin more acceptable as well. So I think everybody's going to go digital ultimately. Yeah, there's an argument we already are, isn't there? You know, we use our cards and we use our phones. Do we really need paper money?
Yeah, a lot of the cash that's being printed at the moment anyway is ending up in mattresses and other places rather than in banks. So interesting concept. Nigel, to finish off, just want to go and get a more broader view about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, how they're likely to go and fare in the current environment. We're seeing a lot of volatility start to take place. We're talking about the Federal Reserve potentially tightening policy, quantitative tightening maybe within the next few months. How do you expect it will go hold up?
Yeah, I mean, if you see Fed tightening, you're seeing tech stocks sell off as well. So inflation's higher than everybody expected, so they need to tighten quickly. I think you're going to get some volatility, but that ultimately I see tech stock recovering, and I also see cryptocurrencies recovering during the next, well, before the end of this quarter.